Hello,
Welcome to
everyone.
Under the Bleachers. That's William Yanish. I'm Chris Ransom. Tonight, we're going to break down 14 different FCS prospects. I've got 2 in the 5th round of my draft simulator, and then I think there's a little bit of a drop off from there to round 6. But there's a lot of guys that I think you could make the argument for in round 6. But
Yeah.
I'm going to start with the 2 round 5 guys that are currently on the draft simulator, and that's Bryce Lance out of North Dakota State and Delby Lemieux out of Dartmouth. Lemieux is Bryce Lance is Trey Lance's younger brother, preseason wide receiver 1. Him and Jaden Craig of Harvard were the top 2 players in the preseason, and Bryce Lance ended up living up to the hype and declaring, and Jaden Craig ended up entering the portal, and he's at Texas Christian replacing Josh Hoover. So, but yeah, Bryce Lance, I saw him run all 30 routes in the route tree. I think he's a better route runner than Watson. I don't think he's fast or faster, as explosive as Watson, but I do believe he's a better overall route runner.
For sure, man. I watched this with Lance, and that was one of the things I said was that, he should have been a tight end or a receiver. I'm not sure he's tough enough to be a tight end. That's a position right there. But, this kid coming in here, he has NFL traits. He has athleticism, and like I said, quarterback to wide receiver, that's a whole different world. So, I believe that he has got great value in round 5. The receiver class, is underrated towards the end. It kind of flattens out, and there's some prospects going down there.
Joey's first round guy, Jeremy Bernard, we have him in round 5. We have Jacoby Lane in round 5. So there's great late round value in this draft at wide receiver, as well as good early round value.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Oh, as I transform here, let me go to my Niners fan thing, and we desperately need a wide receiver 1, and there's not one on the team. We've got, Ricky Pearsall, but he's best fit for a number 2 role. He's playing, but he doesn't get the separation that he should to be elite. But that is the reason that he was drafted by Shanahan. And Shanahan, he goes in there and he's got a different kind of view towards. It's like a lottery, to try to guess, who we're going to draft, and that's one thing. Like I said, if we end up with another wide receiver 2, I'm not quite sure what we're gonna do.
And after Bryce Lance, I think the top guys,
Lane, Bryce Lance, they are good value. Could they be? Do they have number 1 traits? I think Lance might, but he is at a small school. That is my next question about him. Why are you there? That's what you question when it comes to like RJ Harvey coming out of UCF.
Yeah,
and
you could make an argument for my next guy over Bryce Lance as the top FCS prospect. That's Dartmouth's Delby Lemieux. Played left tackle for 4 years at Dartmouth. Didn't allow a sack in 2024 or 2025 at the left tackle position. 6'5", 305 pounds. Kicked inside to center at the Senior Bowl. Didn't give up a sack in the Senior Bowl. He gave all his quarterbacks a clean pocket in that game. Even the North Dakota State quarterback, Cole Payton, he gave Cole Payton a clean pocket. Cole Payton couldn't take advantage of it.
Yeah, that says a lot right there.
So I think Bryce Lance and Delby Lemieux are the top 2 FCS players in this draft, but you could get Lemieux as a left tackle or a center. Well, I put him in the left tackle portion of the draft simulator, but he can play both positions. He might be better inside at the next level.
For some reason, when I Google searched what I was doing, I ended up pulling up, the comeback that Yale had against Youngstown State. It was like a 35-point comeback. And just watching this team, Josh Pitzenberger, the running back. I mean, I'm going to argue all day for him to. He is a Shanahan kind of back, and he can break away, and the kid is big. He's got vision. That's all he does. The more you give him the ball, you just keep fucking pounding. Oh, pardon my language, but I only said half of it. Anyway,
I'm still in the process of deciding who's number 3 after Bryce Lance and Delby Lemieux. I'm being honest here.
Yeah. Well, this guy is going to be
I put Pitzenberger in the running with all the other guys ahead of Cole Payton, but I don't know where I'm going to place him yet. So I'm going to go through the list, and we can try to determine where we should put Pitzenberger. But Tyron Montgomery out of John Carroll, he had great stats at John Carroll, but when we saw him in Mobile, it felt like he could not get separation against tougher corners, tougher competition. And that's a big thing I'm looking at. And I want to say he's the third best FCS player, but I don't know if I can go there yet.
Well, so many people, I mean, when it comes to these players, my brain just took a whatever. But anyway, oh, go ahead, Chris.
And the other guy after Tyron Montgomery was Caleb Proctor, the Southeastern Louisiana defensive tackle. He was at the East-West Shrine Bowl. He really didn't impress me in that game despite getting an invite. But I put him in the same tier as Tyron Montgomery. Now, the next player is Gerard Washington. He is a defensive back on South Carolina State. 6'2", 188. He went to the same college as Jacoby Durant, who was one of my sleepers in the 22 draft. And he had 22 deflections at South Carolina State this year.
Yeah. And like I said, this becoming just so important of a position.
He clocked in a 21.33 at the East-West Shrine Bowl, fastest mile per hour time. Okay.
Nice.
That alone makes me want to move Washington up to number 3 because Montgomery, Proctor, they really didn't do anything to separate themselves from the pack. And they were given bigger platforms than a lot of the guys in this list.
Yeah.
So I think I am going to move Washington up after careful deliberation, William.
Back to the receiver thing. That's what I was going to say about them. When it comes to something and somebody's raving about, how good they are at contested catches, it's like, why are they having contested catches? Are they not getting the separation? It's one of those things to where it's like you can rave about that.
FBS corners were blanketing Tyron Montgomery. So I'm questioning if he is the third best prospect like a lot of draft experts are proclaiming him to be. So I've moved Gerard Washington of South Carolina State up to number 3. The next guy on my list is a linebacker. It's Declan Williams of Incarnate World. Declan Williams, his stats are crazy. I don't know if was in an all-star game or whether he was DT4, but Declan Williams had an insane season. 6'2", 245. He's been at Incarnate World the last 2 years. 102 tackles, 13 tackles for a loss, 4 sacks, 39 solo tackles, 63 assisted. So he had more assisted than total tackles. He only had three games with more than 10 tackles against UTSA and FBS School, Northern Arizona, and Lamar University. So he has good size, but was he in an all-star game? Oh, he was in the Shrine Bowl. He was in the Shrine Bowl.
That's interesting.
But I've seen less about him. Declan Williams I'm looking at Declan Williams, seeing what people are saying. Did a really good job. They're talking about the soccer player Declan Williams. That's just confusing the crap out of me. So it's like I'm trying to see what people are actually saying about the football player Declan Williams, but they're talking about 4 FCS players. I don't really. don't dislike Declan Williams, but again, I don't really view him as a standout either because most of his tackles were assisted versus solo. And that's often, you want linebackers who get 100 tackles, but you want them to have more solo tackles than assisted. So for me, I have reservations about moving Declan Williams ahead of the other guys we've already mentioned. Now, the next two players you could argue are 4 and 5. After Bryce Lane, Delby Lemieux, and Gerard Washington, well, actually, these next 4 players could all be 4 through 7. I've got Joe Cooper of Slippery Rock at number 4. Slippery Rock is my alma mater, by the way, and Joe Cooper was at the East-West Shrine Bowl. I watched his tape. It is incredible. Whoever gets it is getting a steal in the draft. He's a 2-year starter at both left tackle and defensive end, 6'7", 320 pounds, 36 and a half inch arms, I think. I'm not sure what the exact totals are. Schools lie about measurables all the time, like he said. So I'm going to go to the Shrine Bowl page and see what people actually said about Joe Cooper, because I think Joe Cooper was a Shrine Bowl player. So we'll get the actual East-West Shrine Bowl measurables. It's on D. Donaldson. I'm looking for Cooper. Nope, don't freeze on me now, okay? Come on.
I got something wrong with my computer, man.
Something wrong with my computer, too. I'm just trying to get the measurables for the Shrine Bowl.
My space bar is stuck for some reason.
6'6", 330 pounds, 10 1/4 hands. His arm length is 31 5/8, according to the Shrine Bowl. So he might move inside to guard, but 6'6", 330 with those hands is impressive. 31 and 5/8 inch arms. I guess people are going to question his arm length, but he's a damn good player. And he was a standout for me after watching his tape. So Joe Cooper is number 4 for me. Arm length
on the offensive line is different than arm length, on the defensive line. He can be fine.
So I'm looking at these next 3 players. Michael Wortham of Montana, Charles Demings of Stephen F. Austin, and Josh Pitt stood out on tape more than the guys who got hyped up by the media, like the Tyron Montgomerys, the Caleb. Those 3 all stood out in their own. And look, Wortham is a guy who wasn't even talked about. He was at Eastern Washington in 2024. He transferred to Montana, and after hardly doing anything at Eastern Washington, he just explodes at Montana. 85 receptions, 1,224 yards, 10 touchdowns. He played with Efton Chisholm III when he was on Eastern Washington, but he really didn't do anything there. And then once he goes to Montana, he just explodes. And he's gotten both rushing and receiving touchdowns. He can be used out of the backfield. But he had one good season after leaving. Charles Dennings of Stephen F. Austin was a Senior Bowl player. I didn't love him at the Senior Bowl, but I thought he did more than Montgomery. Okay, is that a fair assessment, William? I thought he did more in Mobile than Tyron Montgomery, but I also don't view him as a standout when watching his tape.
Yeah, and that's what happens. That's just a small school thing right there.
And I like Wortham. I don't love Wortham. I'd probably have Wortham in round 7 with Tyron Montgomery, Demings, Wortham, Proctor. And then the next guy you mentioned, Hitzenberger, I watched a little bit of him against Harvard when Gale beat Harvard. He dominated in that game. He was a standout. So even though I originally had Hitzenberger at like 10 or 11 on this list, he moves up to number 5 behind Cooper, Washington, Delby Lemieux, and Bryce Lance. And I think that's a much fairer and much more objective ranking. I'm sure you'd agree with me on that, William.
I definitely agree with you on that. It's like, what I've seen of Pitzenberger, his value, he's going to be a 5th round value. He's got that little bit of breakaway.
But I've got him in round 6, but
Okay.
I think he's going to get drafted. I say he's a top 5 player among the FCS group this year. Maybe you have him at number 2 behind ahead of Lemieux, but I think he's in that top 5. I just think Gerard Washington and Joe Cooper stood out a little bit more in the games they've been showcased in. And Pitzenberger not being showcased in those games, that does work against him, even though I would draft him.
Yeah. And to get away from just excuse me for a second. Okay. Now back to what I was saying about Pitzenberger. That's probably round 5 is probably a little bit early for him, a round or 2 early. And I'm saying that as not a San Francisco fan. But, trying to guess who Shanahan is going to draft with running backs and wide receivers is an interesting thing. And I absolutely love it because, this kid right here, who I think they should, excuse me. All right. For my lotto ticket, I am saying that Pitzenberger needs to be drafted by Shanahan or Mike Washington from Arkansas, as that Shanahan kind of back. And I definitely like it. I like what we need in this draft, and I like what is available. When it's coming to wide receivers and tight ends.
And then the other 4 FCS players I have are Cole Payton, North Dakota State, Jalen Waffle, Incarnate World, Ashton Grable, Florida A&M, and Thoranye, Tennessee Tech. So here are my tiers, William. My 5th round tier is Bryce Lance, Delby Lemieux. My 6th round tier is Gerard Washington, Joe Cooper, Josh Pitzenberger. You talked me into Pitzenberger. Good job, William. And my 7th round tier is Demings, Stephen F. Austin, Tyron Montgomery, Michael Wortham, Montana, Kalen Proctor, Southeast Louisiana, and Declan Williams. And then my UBFAs are Peyton, Waffle, Grable, and Gaines. How does that sound?
I like it.
Would you agree with? So I think that's a good tier. I don't know why Jeremiah thought Cole Payton had the best week in Mobile. That I didn't see it. I didn't see it in practice or in the games.
Yeah.
Lavia and Nussmeier ran circles around him.
Yeah. I was talking with Daniel Kelly about Nussmeier last night, and being my quarterback 2, and Carson Beck being my QB1. That's kind of an interesting thing right there. But, seeing his rankings, because he has Nussmeier down in, I believe, the 4th round.
I have Nussmeier in round 3 of the I have Nussmeier in round 5 of the draft simulator, but he could go anywhere between the 1st round and the 5th round. And I really wouldn't hate him to pick, regardless of where he ended up.
I like where he's going to go, because if he goes as high as the 3rd or 4th round, that is good value, and he can come in as a backup, and there won't be any pressure on him. And that's why I argue what I do about these kids. I don't argue to insult who they are or what they're doing. I come in here and let them do the thing, and I love it. Just getting back to that Pittsburgh thing, oh my God, I got a film, and this kid's got patience. Just everything. But yeah, no. Let's see what happens. And I know you're always so thorough on these rankings and putting these things together, and good stuff, man.
Washington had the fastest time of any player at the Shrine Bowl, 21 miles an hour. I can't ignore that. And he had 22 deflections at South Carolina State. So he's probably a sleeper at corner that we probably should be looking at. Cooper looks like, I think the arm length questions with Cooper are overblown. He's got great size, 6'6", 320, can play defensive end or left tackle, probably project better on the offensive line.
Yeah, with the height and getting in people's way, having that fortress when you stand back.
I have him as the 5th best player among this group, but Pitzenberger has a really good case to be a steal, maybe even the biggest steal among this group if he goes to the right team.
Finding players like that just I mean, pop out of the film and scream at you, "Hey, look at me, look at me!" It's the best part of this job, man, and that's
Yeah.
what Pittsburgh did. So, like I said, he fits the Shanahan mold, and I think that's where we should go. That's what my lotto ticket says, for predicting the future.
And look, I know guys like Demings, Tyron Montgomery, Cole Payton have been overhyped by the media, but it's like, no, North Dakota State didn't win the championship in FCS this year. And Bryce Lance had a great season. Payton didn't have a great season at North Dakota State. I don't know why people.
And that's what you expect out of small school is for the player to stand out, to actually be. He's got to do some things to come out of the FCS to convince the NFL that, hey, look at me, and some of these players have done it, and some of these players just haven't. So,
yeah.
But I love what's on here, man. I mean, watching these receivers, everything else, Bryce Lance, that is a good fit at wide receiver. Just
you want me to pull up the combine list, see which FCS players got combine invites before we wrap this up, William?
Yeah. Let's see that.
Because I haven't really looked at the combine list because I've been busy building a draft simulator, but I will just right now read through it. I'll just read through the FCS guys. You'll get the full list next Wednesday. So Cole Payton did get a comment. No FCS running backs invited. So the Yale running back was denied a combine.
Wow.
Yes. Jared Pitzenberger. He's not on the combine list.
We might get both of them then, if he ends up just happening to slide out, to the undrafted free agent, list. And that would
Bryce
be awesome.
Lance is on the combine list. No surprise there. Nope. Oh, and Walfall from Incarnate World, the receiver I had in the second tier, the bottom tier of my receiver rankings, that got a combine invite.
Nice.
Any FCS? No FCS tight ends at the combine. Offensive lineman.
I just saw a whole Yale team come together as a team to hit that comeback.
That's dope. No offensive lineman. None of the offensive linemen from small schools got combine invites. Very surprised to see that. No small school edge rushers got combine. Oh, Caleb Proctor got a combine invited defensive tackle. No FCS players at linebacker. Charles Deming, Stephen F. Austin corner that we saw at the Senior Bowl, combine invite. And that's it. Those 5 players, only 5 FCS players got combine invites.
I think they're dropping the ball there.
I agree.
I think there's some players that are worth seeing.
And only one of those 5 players on the actual combine list, Bryce Lance, is, I think, worthy of a combine invite.
Yes, sir.
I have Delby Lemieux of Dartmouth at 2, Gerard Washington of South Carolina State at 3, Joe Cooper of Slippery Rock at 4, and Pitzenberger at 5. I like Demings, but Demings had good tape. He had a good week at the Senior Bowl, but he didn't have a great week. He wasn't a standout. I felt like the other players ranked ahead of him were all standouts.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason he fell to 6 on my rankings, because I felt like the top 5, Lemieux, 2 years without a sack, Washington, South Carolina State corner, fastest time at the Shrine Bowl, Joe Cooper, Slippery Rock left tackle, has a great mean streak, and Pitzenberger, Yale. All those guys stand out to a degree on tape.
The best part about Pitzenberger, man, is where he's playing, Yale. That just says
Two of
how
the top
smart this
5
guy
FCS
actually
players
is.
are Ivy League guys. And
Yeah.
Jaden Craig of Harvard was the preseason #1 FCS guy, but he transferred to TCU, and people don't like the fact that we're bringing that up, but you could legitimately argue that the Ivy League had 3 of the top 6 players. If Jaden Craig had declared for this draft, you could argue that the Ivy League had 3 of the top 6 players. So I don't know, William, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, for sure, man. And it absolutely stands out because I love those players, the ones with the IQ that know that entire offense, and
because I saw Jaden Craig go through 6 progressions and watching his tape last year, all 6. So, but his accuracy is worse than Trey Lance. So,
ew.
Yeah.
I watched Trey Lance in training camp with the Niners, and he was out there sweating, dude. He was just like and tossing balls, throwing off his back leg. It's like, dude, it's like you should have been a wide receiver. Yeah, but like I said, man. So that's my pick for who's coming out of the FCS and exactly where it should go. This is a time where the Seahawks where the Rams end up with the players that I want.
Yep.
So
the Rams ended up with Jacoby Durant. They could very easily get the South Carolina State corner, Gerard Washington as his replacement. But yeah, I've got 3 players from the FCS that I probably am going to put in round 6 of the draft simulator. And yeah, I'm just looking at something really quickly. There's a lot of good players in this draft, though.
Yeah,
this is a very underrated FCS draft.
That is indeed, and like I said, it just kind of flattens out with the wide receivers, just the entire draft. There's some players in there that can come out of nowhere.
Yeah,
and Trey Lance can be one of them. I mean, I saw him getting separation, and I saw him. He's not that physical of a guy, but he does his job, and I think he has good value in the 5th or 6th round, to come in here. And obviously, like I said before, talking about Jacoby Lane and watching his contested catches, though, is just because he's like Gumby, and he's just got these arms. It's, it's not so bad that he can't get separation, but, that could be a little bit on refining his routes a little bit more. And, being, because he's been the number 2 to Malachi Lemon, for how long? And
yeah.
But anyway, I guess that's probably about it for this evening. Thanks everyone for joining.
Next week we'll have the combine recap. We'll have a combine, and we'll see if Joey wants to come on and do an interview. If not, we'll just preview the combine. But yeah,
that works. I mean, it's gonna be fun because I see who the workout warriors are.
Yeah,
the underwear Olympics, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
But all right, yeah. Well, we'll get Joey on next week, and it'll be a blast.
Yeah.
Him out of there.
So I'm gonna end the stream, get some more water, eat this second piece of meatloaf. I've been eating half the mashed potatoes because the barbecue sauce that meatloaf. It does require me to drink a little bit of water. Not a lot, but a little bit. But yeah.
So what are the other shows you got?
I've got a sports head. I'm doing a sports head radio NBA All-Star thing with Emmanuel tomorrow. And then Saturday, Draft Utopia. It is a Eastern Conference preview. I did a Western Conference one solo last week. And after I preview the 15 teams, I'm going to go through I made a playoff bracket last week. I made a legit playoff bracket for the top 9 Eastern Conference teams, top 9 Western Conference teams. After I preview all the Eastern Conference teams, I'm going to go through the bracket, crown my winner, If Joey shows up, we will play NFL Jeopardy as a reward for you and Joey having to endure my soccer talk. And if he doesn't, maybe we'll do a 3-round mock in the draft simulator or a 4-round mock, and we'll have the computers on auto draft. You'll have the Niners, all of the Patriots, and we'll have the computer auto draft. But we'll have Vegas odds for the top 5 picks.
Yep.
So the Vegas favorite will go to each of the teams in the top 5, and then we'll let the computer auto draft. I don't know. We'll figure that out. Depends on if Joey shows up. If Joey shows up, we will do NFL Jeopardy, though, after the MLS preview, because we'll see. I don't know.
So for my Niners, the first 3 rounds, we're in need of these players. I've got Max Clare, first round. Second round, Jacoby Lane, and third round, Mike Washington from Arkansas, and that will cure a lot of things.
Washington, what position is he? I don't have him. I don't think I have. What?
Running back. He's a big dude. He's like 6'2", like 235. I mean,
let me see where.
He's a Mike Anderson.
Let me look him up.
Mike Anderson kind of guy. And, I mean, he runs hard, finishes runs. I mean, yeah, I love it. That's my first 3, and that'll cure a lot of things we have going on.
All right, so we've got an 87 on him for potential. He'll probably be in the 7th round whenever I get to the simulator. He'll probably be in the 7th round whenever I put him in the simulator. So I'd have to get I'd have to clear round 5 and round 6 before I'm guessing he'll be somewhere in round 7. But he'll be one of the first players whenever we get to the 87s, because you've already requested, and I've made a mental note. With
our 2nd round pick, it could be Malachi Fields from Notre Dame, your boy, 6'4", 215. That's a big dude.
Yeah, Fields, I think, is a beast.
He is.
I think Fields is going to be the steal of the draft.
And he was tracking balls and like none other. And that was one wide receiver that stood out doing that. Just that ball tracking skill. So got him at number 2, and I'll put Pittsburgh at number 3 along with Mike Washington. So
Pittsburgh will be one of the round 6 players I add. I just don't know when I'm going to get to round 6. I'll try to resume adding some players, because instead of adding 2 players at a time, I'm now at the point where I'm adding 4 players at a time to speed things up for you and Joey, for everyone that wants the full simulator done. I am. I've got the simulator. I've got the first 180 picks up, but I've only got it up to, I think I have it at 148 players as of right now, which is good, but I need to move a little bit faster. Obviously, I'm probably not going to have time to set up the NFL Combine pages for this year, the web pages that I set up for the Combine, because I don't have the simulator up.
One last thing, man. A player, I happen, instead of Justin Jolly, for some reason, I ended up looking at Michael Trigg from, he played for Ole Miss, and then anyway, but Michael Trigg at tight end, I mean, he can be.
Because I was looking at Royer and Trigg, who do we add for the 5th round? And Trigg. You mentioned Trigg first, so we put him ahead of Royer.
Yep.
But we got both of them in the simulator now. I think we got Trigg at 147. We don't have Royer yet. Royer's probably one of the next players I'm going to add. But yeah, I've got Morton at 146 and Trigg at 147 and Giovanni El-Hadi at 148.
The one thing with him is I had to go back to his Ole Miss film to see him blocking, because playing for Baylor, they don't have a lot of tight ends block for that. It was a pure spread offense. It's just what it is. They got there with 4 or 5 wide receivers every play, and so I had to go back and see his blocking. He is absolutely, he can be worthy of that, and he is going to be a steal. 5th round is a good place to have him. So many have been drafted in the 5th round. George Kittle, players like that. Where was Travis Kelce taken? But
we could see one of these tight ends get pushed up to round 4, because after the top 5 tight ends, there's not a consensus tight end 6. So it's possible that one of these 2 gets pushed up to round 4.
I'm looking at Jolly next, and I'll have a report. I'm going to write a little quip on him, to put on the thing. And I'll have another couple of evaluations coming out for anyone that wants to read them.
Awesome.
The secret here is #tight end 1.
Tight end
Tight
one.
end one.
Awesome.
That's the everything right there. Hey,
good stuff. I'm gonna
got my pee right here.
sign off.
Yep. Are we? No,
Good
we're
boy.
still on.
Good dog.
He's got to
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm still here. But yeah, we're signing off.